Revenge Office Stories. My boss's son was methodically destroying my career from the inside, and he thought I was too stupid to notice. He was wrong. I didn't just get mad, I got evidence. And the moment I laid it all out for his father wasn't just the end of his career, it was the beginning of my triumph. He thought his name would protect him, that being the CEO's son made him untouchable. He assumed I was just another stepping stone, someone whose hard work he could steal to make himself look good. What he didn't get was that while he was busy playing childish games, I was building a case so airtight that by the time I was done, there wouldn't be a corner of that company for him to hide in. He wanted to ruin my career, but he ended up handing me the keys to the kingdom. Before the storm, there was the calm. And for my first 3 years at Sterling Analytics, it was perfect. Sterling wasn't just a company, it was a destination. A top-tier financial analysis firm known for its cutthroat standards, but also for rewarding real talent. My name is Alex, and let's be honest, I was very good at my job. Numbers talk to me. They tell stories, reveal patterns, and predict the future. My job as a senior data analyst was to translate that language for our clients, turning mountains of raw data into profitable strategies. I loved it. I lived and breathed it. My work ethic was my brand. I was the first one in and the last one out, not because I had to be, but because I was genuinely obsessed with getting it right. My reports were known for their clarity, precision, and uncanny accuracy. I was the guy you went to when the stakes were high and failure was not an option. This had earned me the respect of my peers, my manager, and even the big man himself, Mr. Harrison, the CEO. He was old school, a guy who valued results above all else. He was tough but fair, and when he'd stop by my desk to review a projection, a simple, "Good work, Alex," felt like a medal. The culture was demanding, but it was a meritocracy, or so I thought. The first sign of poison came in a company-wide email. "Please welcome James Harrison Jr. to our team." Junior, the heir apparent. The name hit the inbox like a lead balloon. He was placed in our department in a role parallel to mine, but we all knew it was just a temporary stop. The whispers started immediately. We'd all heard the stories. A string of failed ventures, a resume padded with consulting gigs at his dad's friends' companies, and a reputation for having all the entitlement and none of the grit that made his father a titan. From the moment he walked in, Junior carried himself like a landlord inspecting his property. He had his father's height, but none of his presence. His smile was too practiced, his handshake too limp. He tried to be one of the guys, but it came off as condescending, calling people chief and buddy while clearly not remembering their names. He was a walking, talking cliché of nepotism. For the first few months, we barely crossed paths. He was given what we jokingly called legacy projects, low-risk assignments designed to keep him busy. But I could feel his eyes on me. In meetings, when I presented, I'd catch him watching not with curiosity, but with a cold, calculating stare. He wasn't trying to learn, he was looking for a weakness. His contributions were minimal, usually just rephrasing what someone else said with more confidence. He'd say things like, "Great work, Alex." It's almost exactly the conclusion I was coming to, a slick way of suggesting he was a silent partner to my success. I saw him as an annoyance, a mascot for unearned privilege, but not a real threat. I figured my work would always speak for itself. My mistake was underestimating how far a deeply insecure person will go when they feel overshadowed. My competence was a spotlight on his incompetence. And instead of trying to get better, he decided it would be much easier to just break the bulb. The project that changed everything was the Q3 analysis for Omnicorp, one of our biggest clients. This wasn't just another report. It was a forecast that would guide their investments for the next 6 months. It was complex, high stakes, and exactly the kind of challenge I loved. My manager, Sarah, handed me the file and said, "Alex, we need a masterpiece." For 2 weeks, I poured everything into it. I worked late, fueled by coffee and the thrill of the puzzle. I triple-checked every formula and ran every projection through multiple simulations. The final report was a thing of beauty. Over 80 pages of intricate charts, sharp commentary, and a clear, data-backed roadmap. The conclusion was bold. I found a niche market they'd been overlooking, a potential gold mine our models predicted would explode. It was the kind of insight that justified our hefty fees. The night before the presentation, I saved the final version to the company's shared server, as was standard procedure. I sent a quick email to the team. OmniCorp analysis is complete and uploaded. I went home that night feeling proud. The next morning, I walked into the conference room, and the air was thick with tension. The OmniCorp execs looked impatient. Mr. Harrison was there, a rare sight for a client presentation, which told me how important this was. Sarah was by the projector, her face pale. She wouldn't meet my eye. "Let's begin," Mr. Harrison grumbled. Sarah clicked to the first slide, and my stomach dropped. The title page was fine, but the executive summary was a disaster. The key revenue projection was off by a factor of 10. It was a laughable, amateur mistake. Slide after slide, it was the same story. Charts were mislabeled. Entire paragraphs of my analysis were gone, replaced with fragmented, incoherent sentences. The section on the new market opportunity, my gold mine, was completely missing. The presentation didn't just make me look incompetent. It made me look like I was having a breakdown. This isn't my report," I stammered, looking at Sarah. "An OmniCorp," VP scoffed. "Then whose is it? Your name is on it." I felt a hot flush of shame. I tried to explain the real findings from memory, but the damage was done. Mr. Harrison cut the presentation short, apologizing to the clients and promising a full review. As they filed out with disgusted looks, he turned to me, his face a mask of cold fury. "Alex," he said, his voice dangerously quiet. "My office. Now." As I followed, I saw Junior. He had a look of fake concern plastered on his face. He put a hand on my shoulder. "Man, that was brutal," he whispered. "I don't know what happened. I even took a quick look at it last night to see if I could help, but it seemed okay then. Must have been a server glitch or something." And right there it all clicked. A server glitch? No. A glitch doesn't surgically delete key findings and swap them with nonsense. This was deliberate. This was sabotage. And his comment, I even took a quick look at it last night. He wasn't giving himself an alibi. He was putting himself at the scene of the crime. I knew, with a certainty that chilled me to the bone, this was his first shot in a war I didn't even know I was fighting. Sitting in Mr. Harrison's office, the disappointment rolling off him was colder than any yelling could ever be. I told him the truth. The document had been altered after I uploaded it. Altered? By whom, Alex? Mr. Harrison asked, skeptical. "The server logs show you were the last person to save the file." Of course they did. Going to HR would be useless. It would be my word against the CEO's son. I'd be labeled paranoid, a poor performer looking for excuses. They'd launch a token investigation, find nothing, and my career at Sterling would be over. No, a direct confrontation was a losing move. He wanted me to panic and make a scene. I decided to do the exact opposite. I would be calm, patient, and methodical. If he wanted to play sabotage, I'd play espionage. The first thing I did was change my entire workflow. I bought a high-capacity external SSD. From then on, nothing lived only on the company server. Every file, every draft, every email was saved and time-stamped on my private drive. I made 2 versions of every important project. The real version for my records and the server version, which would be the bait. I didn't have to wait long. About a month later, I was working on an internal report. I completed it, saved the pristine copy to my SSD, and uploaded the identical bait version to the server. I made a point of mentioning to a colleague, within earshot of Junior, that I had just finished it. The next morning, I came in at 6 a.m. I went to the project folder on the server, right-clicked the file, and selected Properties. There it was. Last saved by James Harrison Jr. date modified, 11:48 p.m. My hands were shaking, not with fear, but with the electric thrill of confirmation. I took out my phone and recorded a video, slowly scrolling through the file's metadata. Then I opened the document. He'd altered a few growth percentages, changing positive trends to negative. It was subtle, but it was designed to make my analysis look sloppy. He was building a narrative. That was Exhibit A. Soon, the sabotage shifted to exclusion. A new, exciting project was launched, and I was a natural fit. But the meeting invites never came. I overheard colleagues discussing the kickoff and asked my manager, Sarah, about it. She looked uncomfortable. Oh, she said, avoiding my gaze. Junior mentioned he was taking the lead and would loop you in later. I was being sidelined. A few days later, I walked by a conference room and heard Junior's voice. He was presenting my proposal, almost word for word as his own. I pulled out my phone, stood just out of sight, and recorded the audio. That became Exhibit B. Then came the gaslighting. Sarah called me in for my mid-year review. For 3 years, they had been stellar. This time, her tone was troubled. Alex, we need to talk about your performance, she began. She mentioned Omnicorp and the errors in the competitor report. Then the bombshell. Junior has also mentioned he's had to step in and correct some of your work. He's concerned you seem disengaged. I sat there, stone-faced, as she put me on a performance improvement plan. It was humiliating, a formal step toward getting fired. He wasn't just changing my work, he was poisoning the well, using my own boss to build a false case against me. After the meeting, I wrote a detailed, dated account of the entire conversation. That was Exhibit C. I knew his endgame was near. A PIP is a timer. He needed one more big failure to seal the deal. And I knew what it would be, the annual market forecast. It was the most important internal report of the year, my signature project. The perfect stage for my public execution. This time, my preparation was on another level. The bait document I put on the server was a work of art. It was nearly perfect, but I wove in specific, tempting vulnerabilities, like swapping the revenue and profit column headers. An easy, 5-second fix for an idiot to find and then claim he'd saved the day. But the masterstroke was my secret weapon. I embedded a nearly invisible single-pixel image in the document's header, a tracking pixel. The moment that document was opened, it would ping a server, telling me the exact time it was accessed and from what IP address. It was my silent digital witness. I uploaded the file 3 days before the board meeting. Then I waited. The night before the presentation, my phone buzzed. An email from the tracking service. Subject: Your document has been viewed. My heart hammered. I opened it. Accessed at 10:23 p.m. IP address. A string of numbers. A quick reverse lookup confirmed it was registered to Sterling's corporate headquarters. Another notification. 11:15 p.m. and another. 12:40 a.m. and a final one. 2:17 a.m. He was in there for hours, gleefully tearing my work apart, thinking he was writing the final chapter of my career. All he was really doing was tightening the noose around his own neck. If you believe in getting justice, do me a favor and hit that like button. It really helps the channel out and lets me know you want more stories where the bad guy gets exactly what's coming to them. Now let's get back to the takedown. The morning of the board meeting felt strangely peaceful. I was walking toward my own execution, but for the first time in months, I wasn't scared. I was ready. I had my tablet and my briefcase, my evidence compiled into a single, devastating presentation. I had the truth. Just as I predicted, an hour before the meeting, I was summoned. Alex, Mr. Harrison wants to see you in his office. Now. I walked the long hallway, but this time my steps were firm. I knocked. Come in. I opened the door to a corporate drama. Mr. Harrison was behind his desk, his face a thundercloud. Sarah stood beside him looking anxious, and to his right, leaning with smug, practice concern, was Junior. He had the nerve to give me a slight, sympathetic shake of his head. On the desk was a printout of the Sabotage report, covered in red ink. "Alex," Mr. Harrison began, holding up the report. "This is, without a doubt, the most incompetent piece of work I have ever seen. The columns are inverted, the charts are a mess. It's a catastrophe. My son was good enough to flag it for me last night. Otherwise, you would have presented this garbage, to the entire board. Explain yourself." Junior chimed in, his voice dripping with false sincerity. "Dad, I'm as shocked as you are. I just had a feeling I should give it a final look. When I saw the state it was in, I knew I had to bring it to you." "Alex," he said, turning to me, "what on earth happened?" I let the silence hang for a moment. I looked from Mr. Harrison's furious face to Sarah's worried one, and finally to Junior's triumphant smirk. "Mr. Harrison," I said calmly, "I understand your concern. The report you're holding is not the report I created. It's a fraudulent document." Junior scoffed. "Oh, here we go. The server ate your homework? Who sabotaged it this time, Alex? A ghost?" "I don't have to blame a ghost," I replied, pulling my tablet from my briefcase, "because I have proof of exactly who did it." I turned on the tablet. "The report you have is the bait. This," I said, tapping the screen to reveal the pristine analysis, "is my real report." A flicker of confusion crossed Mr. Harrison's face. Junior's smirk faltered. "But more importantly," I continued, swiping to the next slide, "let's talk about the sabotage." The screen showed a screenshot of the file metadata from 3 months ago. As you can see, it was last modified at 11:48 p.m. by a user named J. Harrison Jr. That would be you, wouldn't it, James? Junior went pale. That could be faked. Photoshop. "An interesting theory," I said, swiping again. "Maybe you can also explain this." I hit play on an audio file. The room filled with Junior's voice, confidently presenting my proposal as his own. "And with my framework, we can expect a 20% increase in efficiency." Junior was stammering. "I was just brainstorming." "Like the performance improvement plan I was put on, based on concerns you raised to Sarah?" Sarah's eyes widened, the pieces clicking into place. "But let's get back to last night," I said, going in for the kill. "You didn't find these errors. You created them." I swiped to the final slide, a log of dates, times, and IP addresses. This is from a tracking pixel I embedded in the document. It shows the file was accessed 4 times from your workstation's IP address between 10:23 p.m. and 2:17 a.m. It was in that time that my perfect report was turned into the disaster you're holding. I looked directly at Junior. His face was ashen. "This was never about my incompetence," I said, turning back to Mr. Harrison. "This was a calculated, malicious campaign by your son to destroy my career." Mr. Harrison stared at the tablet, then at his son. The fury on his face had been replaced by profound disgust. Junior, in a last-ditch effort, blurted out, "He's lying. He set me up. He framed me." I didn't flinch. "If it's all fake, James," I said calmly, "then you'll have no problem handing over your laptop and letting IT do a forensic analysis right now. They can verify every last detail." Checkmate. The color drained from Junior's face. He knew, and everyone knew, what the logs would prove. He was done. The silence that followed was the loudest thing I'd ever heard. It was the sound of a career imploding. Junior just stood there, all the smug arrogance gone, replaced by the pathetic look of a kid caught red-handed. Mr. Harrison finally broke the silence. He didn't yell. His voice was terrifyingly calm. He looked only at his son. "Get out," he said. Junior flinched. "Dad, Get out of my office," Mr. Harrison repeated. "Go to your desk. Pack your personal things. Security will escort you from the building. Do not speak to anyone. Hand over your laptop and key card. We will discuss this at home." Junior shuffled out of the office without another word. The door clicked shut, sealing his fate. Mr. Harrison sank into his chair, looking 10 years older. He finally turned to me, not as a CEO, but as an embarrassed father. "Alex," he began, his voice thick with regret. "I'm sorry, doesn't even begin to cover it. On behalf of this company and my family, I am profoundly sorry. To have my own son pull off something so malicious under my roof is a failure of the highest order." Sarah, who had been silent, finally spoke. "I'm so sorry, Alex. I should have trusted my gut." "You were being lied to, Sarah," I said. "He manipulated both of us." "He did," Mr. Harrison agreed. "But Alex showed the integrity to find the truth, not just make excuses. That kind of character is invaluable." Section 6. The Resolution, the New Kingdom. I thought that would be it. An apology and a return to normal. But Mr. Harrison wasn't finished. His expression shifted back to decisive steel. "This company is a meritocracy," he said. "I built it on the principle that results and integrity are all that matter. I have clearly let that be compromised." He picked up his desk phone. "Ask Mark from the executive board to come to my office." A minute later, the head of the board walked in. Mr. Harrison didn't waste time. "Mark, James Harrison Jr.'s employment has been terminated, effective immediately. Furthermore, I've just reviewed Alex's actual annual forecast. It's brilliant. His work, and more importantly, his resilience and integrity under extreme pressure, have been exemplary." He looked directly at me. "The senior strategic lead position for our predictive analytics division. That was the role James was supposed to grow into. He has proven he isn't fit to lead anything. You have. The position is yours. Effective immediately. There will be a 30% pay increase, and I'm authorizing a one-time hardship bonus equal to your new quarterly salary. You've earned it." I was speechless. A promotion, a massive raise, a bonus. It was more than vindication. It was a coronation. In one moment, I went from being on a performance plan to being a department lead. The very position he tried to ruin me to get was now mine. My reputation in the firm wasn't just restored. It was cemented in legend. The sanitized version of the story spread like wildfire. I was no longer just the smart data guy. I was the guy who faced down the boss's son and won with an avalanche of truth. They say the best revenge is living well, but sometimes getting justice is a key part of that. He tried to ruin me with lies, so I buried him with the truth. He wanted my job, and in the end, his pathetic attempts at sabotage are the very reason I got it. He built a ladder to his own success on my supposed failures. But when I revealed the truth, that ladder collapsed, and he fell right into the hole he dug for himself. And the best part? The real report I presented to the board that day was the most successful in the company's history. It was the most satisfying project I've ever completed. What do you think? Was this the right way to handle it? Let me know your own revenge stories in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more content where justice is always the final chapter.